Hello, anybody, and thanks for tuning in to Monday Morning Handicapping. This is 2025 Kentucky Derby prospects, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at one of the contenders for the upcoming Kentucky Derby, a horse by the name of Coal Battle. This horse's father or sire was a horse named Coal Front, and this horse's mother or dam was a horse named Wolf Blade, whose father, Wolf Blade's father, was a horse named Midshipman, the dam sire that's known as. Coal Battle is trained by Lonnie Briley, and the jockey is Juan Vargas. Let's take a look at this horse, what he's been up to this point, and what we can look forward to moving forwards. So starting with the pedigree, Coal Battle's sire or father was a horse named Coal Front. Coal Front raced 13 times, won 8 times, no second place finishes, a third place finish, and through all that, this horse earned $1.8 million in earnings. 3 of Coal Front's 8 wins were routing, so going a mile or more. Coal Front was a multiple graded stakes winner on the dirt, never won a grade 1, and never won going more than a mile and a 16th. Coal Battle's dam or mother, Wolf Blade, raced 39 times, 9 wins, 5 seconds, 9 thirds, and earned $143,000 in earnings. 0 of her wins were routing, no stakes wins, and seemed to be a 4.5 furlong sprinting specialist. Got most of her wins running a very short, just over a half mile. Remember, a furlong is an eighth of a mile. So she was a sprinting specialist. As of now, January 12, 2024, when I pulled up this information, Coal Battle has 20 Kentucky Derby points, second on the leaderboard at this point. Coal Battle is currently 50-1 to win the 2025 Kentucky Derby in the future betting pools, according to HorseRacingNation.com. Coal Battle has 6 career starts, 4 wins, no seconds, no thirds. In July of 2024, Coal Battle won its debut in a maiden special weight at Evangeline Downs, going 5 furlongs on a sloppy dirt track, so lots of rain. September 8, 2024, 4th place in a listed stakes at Kentucky Downs, going 1 mile on the turf, so switched distance and switched surfaces, ran 4th. Came back in October of 2024, ran 7th in an allowance race at Keeneland, again going a mile on the turf, different track but same distance as last race. November 8, 2024, first in a stakes race at Delta Downs, going 6.5 furlongs on the dirt, a sealed track, meaning it was wet, but they really pressed it with the heavy equipment, so they call it sealed, but the track was wet. December 13, 2024, first place in a listed stakes at Remington Park, going a mile on the dirt. And January 4th, its most recent race, first place in a listed stakes at Oaklawn Park, going a mile and a 16th on the dirt. So let's take a look a little bit closer at each of these races. So breaks maiden July 25th, 2024 at Evangeline Downs. Just some notes and takeaways. Goes off at 6-1 odds. A debut win, so the first ever race this horse was in, it won, going 5 furlongs on a sloppy dirt track. Broke clean from post position 8 out of 9 horses in the race. Sat 5th place by about 2 lengths. This horse raced 4 wide throughout the entire race, avoiding any kickback. So there were no horses directly in front of him, kicking dirt back into a horse's face. Some horses don't really respond well or like that kickback, and some can run through it. So to be determined with this horse, it was outside of any other runners, no runners in front of him. Coal Battle made a move halfway around the turn, vying for the lead. Lugged in, bit green early in the stretch, so when the horse straightened out running towards the finish line, the horse was kind of pulling to the inside down towards the rail. A bit green just means you'll know it when you see it. It just means that the horse is a little inexperienced and not running in a straight line towards the finish line, kind of throwing its head around, maybe looking around a little bit. This horse took the lead with an eighth of a mile to go, took first place by 3.5 lengths relatively easily. The jockey wasn't urging the horse really desperately and wasn't really using the whip at all. And this horse, Coal Battle, showed ability to pass horses in its debut race. Others over here in the right-hand column, I'm going to talk about some of the other runners in each of its races just so you know who this horse is going up against. So this would indicate the second place finisher in this race is 0-for-4 lifetime, hasn't won a race yet. Third place finisher, 0-for-2, but was second next out in an Evangeline, so same track, but in a restricted stake. So even though it didn't break its maiden, moved up in class and ran second, so that horse might be okay. Fourth place horse is 0-for-1, ran in this race, hasn't run since, and this is way back in July. Fifth place, 1-for-4, won next time out at Evangeline Downs, sprinting on the turf, so maybe wasn't equipped to handle the dirt. Switched to turf and got the win. Sixth place horse is 0-for-4 lifetime. Seventh place, 1-for-7. Won in a $10,000 maiden claiming race at Delta Downs, going 7 furlongs on the dirt, so stretching out seemed to help this horse a little bit. Eighth place finisher, 0-for-6. Ninth place finisher, 0-for-2 lifetime. Next race, stakes debut, September 8, 2024 at Kentucky Downs. Goes off at 88-1 odds, the longest shot in the race. It's a 1 mile race on the firm turf, meaning no moisture in the ground really, just dry. Kentucky Downs, it's a peculiar track. Some horses really like it, some horses don't. Most of the horses I see just don't seem to have a fondness for it. It's not a perfect oval. It kind of has a right-hand turn before a left-hand turn. Kind of goes uphill and downhill a little bit, it looks like, and it's a peculiar track. If a horse I like doesn't run well at Kentucky Downs, I don't really consider it a knock. A strange track just for all intents and purposes of this video. So this race was a stakes debut for this horse. It was a route debut and a turf debut. So Cole Battle came into this race trying all sorts of new things against stiffer competition. Cole Battle broke clean from post 14 of 14, so this horse was on the far outside. Takes back to 11th place by about 10 lengths early on in the race. Was about 4 wide throughout, so not down near the rail, about 4 horse widths from the rail out. Avoided kickback yet again, no horses right in front of him. And got a clean trip. Never had to move in or out to avoid running up behind any other horses. Just kind of ran its race 4 wide throughout. Chased the fast pace, which does benefit closers, which is what Cole Battle was trying to do this race. Lugged in again slightly in the stretch, so kind of veered down towards the rail, but improved. Ran a little bit straighter than on debut, as you might expect. Was no threat to the top 3 finishers. Cole Battle finished 4th place by about 6 lengths, and again showed ability to pass horses. Others in this race, the first place finisher has raced 5 times, 2 wins, a second and a third. This horse was second in a grade 3 and third in a grade 2, so a pretty talented horse up top. And remember, Cole Battle only ran 4th to this horse, albeit by about 6 lengths. The second place finisher, 4 races, no wins, 3 seconds, no thirds. Second place in a maiden special weight after this race. The third place finisher has raced 3 times with a win, no seconds, and a third place finish. Most recently, 10th place in a grade 1. Fifth place finisher, 4 career races, a win, a third, and was 6th place in an allowance after this. 6th place finisher, 10 races, no wins, a second and no thirds. 9th place in a maiden special weight next. And the 7th place finisher, 5 races with 1 win, 1 third, was 6th in a grade 3 and then 9th in an allowance race. So aside from the first place finisher, not a whole lot of talent in this race apparently. But you could take a deeper dive into who they were racing against, but this is just a preliminary look. Third start, September 8th, 2024 at Keeneland. Goes off at 9-1 odds, 1 mile on the firm turf. At Keeneland, another stakes race, breaks clean from post number 4 out of 12 in the race. 6th place by about 7 lengths back early in the 3 path entering the backstretch. In the clear, again, no kickback, no horses in front of him, so we're not sure how this horse will fare when he's getting dirt kicked in its face. Ran evenly in the stretch, evenly meaning wasn't gaining on the leaders, also wasn't falling back, so was running about as fast as the horses that were about to win the race. Race may have favored front runners. The runners that were 1st, 3rd, and 4th early in the race finished 1, 2, 3. So whoever was out near the front stayed near the front. Cole Battle was 4th place by about 5.5 lengths. Overall, a decent effort in only its 3rd career start. Some others in this race, the 1st place finisher, 3 races, 3 wins, so undefeated and is a grade 2 winner. 2nd place finisher, 6 races, 2 wins, 2 seconds, won an allowance race routing on the dirt at Fairgrounds after this race. 3rd place finisher, 7 races, 2 wins, a third, 1 allowance routing on the turf after this at Tampa Bay Downs. 5th place finisher, remember our horse finished 4th here, so the 5th place, 4 career starts, 1 win, no seconds or thirds, 1 maiden race routing on the turf at Kentucky Downs. 6th place finisher, 5 races, a win, a second, and 1 its maiden sprinting on the turf at Delaware Park. So the horses that finished near the top, or at least the top 6 in this race, seem to have an affinity for turf especially, so maybe turf is or isn't Cole Battle's game. That's yet to be determined. For start, November 8th, 2024 at Delta Downs. Goes off as the even money favorite. 3rd straight stakes race since its debut. Cuts back to 6.5 furlongs on the dirt at Delta Downs. Remember, the last 2 races were a mile on the turf. This track was muddy, and this is a 2-turn sprint, so the oval that the track is a lot smaller in circumference. So even though it's a sprint, they are going around 2 turns. Cole Battle broke clean from post number 2 out of 7 horses, took back to 5th place and checked going into the first turn. And checked, for those that don't know, means that the jockey had to pull up on the reins because a horse cut him off, and so to avoid any traffic or horses falling, he really had to yank back on the reins hard, and that really slows the horse's momentum down and gave some of those front runners a few extra steps on this horse. Made a 4 wide move around the far turn, lugged out in the stretch, again has a tendency to lug in the stretch, not run in a straight line, but recovered and was finished 1st place by about 2.5 lengths. Some others in this race, the 2nd place finisher has 6 starts, 2 wins, 3 seconds, was 5th in a dirt sprint stakes at Fairgrounds. The third place finisher has 6 starts, a win, a third, was 5th in a dirt sprint stakes at Fairgrounds, 4th in a dirt sprint allowance at Fairgrounds. Fourth place finisher, 3 starts with 1 second place finish, was 6th place in a maiden special weight sprinting on the dirt at Fairgrounds after this race. The 5th place finisher has 6 starts, a win, a second, and 2/3. Next start after this race was 3rd on the dirt routing in an allowance race at Remington Park. 5th start, December 13, 2024 at Remington Park. Goes off at 6-1 odds, stretches out to a mile on the dirt. It has run a mile before, but the previous race was a 2-turn, 6.5 furlong sprint. Breaks clean from post number 1 of 12, so down on the inside. Taken back to 7th by about 5 lengths entering the backstretch. Stayed near the rail, took on kickback for the first time, just about. It's kind of hard to tell if the horse is actually getting kickback, but this is the first time there was a horse directly in front of him, so I assume that this horse was getting some kickback, some dirt kicked in his face for the first time. Made his move, vying for the lead midway around the final turn. Tipped out to run down the 2-1 favorite. So the horse that Cold Battle actually ran down was well backed by the public, must have been a talented horse, at least on paper, and Cold Battle was able to finish first place by a half length. Others in this race, that second place finisher, 2 starts, a win in a second, broke its maiden sprinting at Churchill Downs. Third place finisher, 3 starts, a first, a second, and a third, hasn't raced since this race. Fourth place finisher, 5 starts, 1 win, 2 seconds, and was shipping from the West Coast. Fifth place finisher, 4 starts, 3 wins, no seconds or thirds. All wins were sprinting at Remington Park. So this 5th place finisher was stretching out to a mile for the first time, at least in terms of getting a win. 6th start, January 4, 2025 at Oaklawn Park. Goes off at 9-2 odds. Third straight stakes race, the Smarty Jones Stakes at Oaklawn Park. Added distance of a mile and a 16th on the dirt. So remember the last route was a flat mile, so adding a 16th of a mile this time. Breaks clean from post number 6 of 6, so again on the far outside. More forwardly placed, meaning this horse was going more towards the front and not taking back and running down the leaders late. Cold Battle was second by a half length in the 3 path going around the first turn, so just sitting right off of the horse that was in first place early. Took the lead entering the backstretch, contested from the outside runner, then the inside. So Cold Battle kind of took the lead, and then the outside runner came up and pressed him on the pace, and then the inside runner came up after that outside runner fell back. Cold Battle dueled, took the lead entering the stretch, lugged in again during the stretch run, moderate fractions with a strong finish, 6.13 seconds for the final 16th of a mile, which equates roughly to 24.5 second final quarter mile, which isn't bad. This horse finished first place by 4 lengths, so really pulled away from the rest of the field. And the others in this race, the second place finisher had 3 starts, 1 win in 2 seconds, 1 maiden sprinting at Churchill Downs. Third place finisher had 6 starts, 2 wins and a third, 1 maiden race sprinting on turf at Del Mar, 1 a stakes race sprinting on the dirt at Oaklawn Park. Fourth place finisher had 3 starts, no wins. Fifth place finisher had 2 starts, 1 win, and won its maiden debut routing at Fairgrounds. So the first race this horse ever ran was a route at Fairgrounds, won it, but didn't win this race, which would be its second start. Some positive and negatives from this horse. Some of the positives, this horse breaks clean from the gate every time. This horse is versatile. It can race on the front near the lead, or it can close from behind and pass runners. This horse has won sprinting, it's won routing. It's got decent performances on the turf, but has better results on the dirt. This horse has won on both wet and dry dirt track, so if there is an off track or there's some rain come Kentucky Derby, this horse has proven that it can win on a wet or a dry track. This horse does appear to be handling the longer distances. It's shown ability to pass horses or duel. This horse did take some kickback in that Remington Park race, stayed on the inside, doesn't need the clear perhaps. Again, lightly raced horses, young in their careers. We like to see more, and that's what the next prep races coming up before the Derby are going to show us. But apparently this horse raced down on the inside behind horses and ran down that 2-1 leader, and that kind of speaks volumes for how this horse is maturing. It's an improving young horse with late kick. Again, it can close, and when it does close, it comes with a strong finish. And this horse has won 3 in a row. Some of the negatives I had to find. This horse is improving, but will need to get faster and handle the 1.25 mile distance. Again, these horses are really young. They're all going to have to get better. You don't want them peaking too early before the Kentucky Derby. So when the next race comes around, you just want to see a little bit quicker fractions and still have some of that late kick and late finish if it's going to handle the distance. Not sure this horse has beat any horses ready for the grade 1 stage on dirt. There was that one turf race at Keeneland where the winner of that race had won a grade 2. Again, these horses are young, so they can improve to that grade 1 level, but other than that, there's nothing that really stood out that said this horse was beating or really close to competing with some grade 1 talent. Cold Battle will need to outrun its pedigree in terms of both distance and class. If you remember, the sire never won at a race more than a mile and a 16th and never won a grade 1 race, and that's exactly what the Kentucky Derby is, a mile and a quarter in a grade 1. And the dam, or the mother, also was a sprinting specialist and never won any stakes race. So we'll need to outrun his pedigree. We'll need to find a clean trip in a 20-horse field if he decides to take back. Again, this horse can run up near the lead. This horse has more often taken back a little bit. If this horse does choose to take back, then it's going to have to get a clear path, especially if it's going to have to also outrun its pedigree. It's going to need a really clean trip, not run into any traffic, and not be too far off the rail so that it's running a further distance. The closer to the rail you are, the shorter trip around the circle you go. So if this horse does take back, and this will depend on the makeup of the field come Kentucky Derby Day. If there's a lot of other front runners, this horse might decide to take back. If there's not a lot of other speed or front runners, this horse might be a little bit closer to the lead, in which case it should be easier to find a clean trip if this horse is more forwardly placed. Again, that'll come down to race shape come Derby Day. And last but not least, this horse has lugged in or out in the stretching races, and that can be a couple of things in my experience. That can be the horse is tired and it's just having a hard time keeping his path straight, and one of the legs on the horse is getting tired and it's kind of compensating for that. Or the horse is just green and is looking around, is curious and not really focused on racing. Either way, you don't want to see a horse lugging in or out in the Derby. You want him as professional as possible, running in a straight line, which would be the most efficient manner to run the race, obviously. So I'd like to see that lugging in and out in the stretch kind of cleaned up before Derby Day and perhaps in its next prep race. So that wraps up this video on Cold Battle, one of the upcoming Kentucky Derby contenders. I want to thank anybody for watching. Feedback is highly appreciated. I read all the comments that I'm sent. I was wondering, in my last video, I talked about the pace that the horse was actually running. I don't know how relevant that is to anybody watching the race. I don't know if I should bring those back. Also, I'm curious to hear what people think of the others in the race. Does it matter to you? Do you want to know who this horse is up against and what their lifetime racing records are up to this point? Please let me know in the comments if anyone's gotten this far in the video. Also appreciate it if anyone would like, subscribe, or share with friends, especially newcomers to the game. Share this video with them. I also have some playlists, how to read a racing form and betting on horse racing for some interested newcomers. How to read a racing form, I break down the components of the racing form, talk about what it is and what it's telling you. And betting on horse racing playlist, I go through all the bets, explain what they are, how you lay them, and a couple of things that I look for when I'm playing those bets. So that's it for Cold Battle, one of the upcoming Kentucky Derby contenders. To be determined if the horse actually gets in the race. Lots can happen between now and then, but this is just what I've gleaned from this horse so far. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.